Okay, so our shadows are a little too harsh. And sometimes I just want to show how this is something you can sometimes come across, right? Like initially you pick out pictures that look good and stuff like that, or colors, excuse me, like colors that match the picture, shadows. But this, we're discovering that this shadow color would really be more appropriate for a bit of a stronger, darker shadow. Like maybe a darker spot right underneath something, but not necessarily just on the surface of the skin. So we're going to go ahead and soften this up a little bit. I'm going to select one of my shapes with that shadow color. I'm going to go up to select at the top. I'm going to go down to same. I'm going to select fill color. So what that does is that selects all these different shapes that have that same fill color. And you know what? I need to do that again because I need to unlock my base layer so that way I can have my color palette able to select. So let's do that again. Select one of these shapes, select same fill color. So all those are now selected. I'm going to go over to my color panel and I'm going to play with this a little bit. So I might raise it some and the K value, make it 5. With my skin, I have a good amount of orange in my skin. See, that's starting to look a lot better. A lot better. Yeah, that's nicer. Yeah. All right, let me tweak it a little more. Just kind of, I know that there's a lot of orange in my skin. I know that I have very tan color, and so I'm trying to kind of stick to that color, but make it a bit more vibrant, not so dark. So I'm going to take away all that black, and I'm just adjusting these a little bit. That's already much better. Look at that. Yeah, much better. Much softer shadows there, right? That looks more real. So I'll go back, I'll lock that base layer again. And the reason I did that was so that way now this shadow color in my color palette has been changed as well. So now you could do it to where you add it and keep the other one. I don't really need the other one. Like I said, we're just going to do 3 colors here. And so this is good. This is good. So I'm going to select my pencil tool, make sure my color layer is selected. And I'm actually going to not select my pencil tool. I'm going to select my arrow. I'm going to select that same midtone color again and hide that, switch that around to a stroke color. I'm going to do that with my forehead too. So I'm going to start going into my forehead. Select my pencil. I dropped the shadow color, select pencil. Here we go. All right, and I have my color. I'm always checking to make sure my color layer is selected because you want to draw on the correct layer. You want to make sure your colors are right. You want all that in order before you start drawing. All right. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to tie this shadow in down to the bottom of my beard here. I just feel like that smoother transition is better than cutting it off the way I did. I kind of have a shadow that comes along. Yeah, I am going to do that, but I'm going to have it thin out on this side because earlier in the last video, I pointed out how this side, it kind of had a gap in that shadow. So I'm just going to kind of thin it out, come back to the glasses for that. Just still leave that there. And I might even bring this forward a little more because I do think this shadow is a little bit more forward than that. And again, as we're doing this, it kind of just looks like war paint because it's not finished. Hopefully, as we get closer to finishing, it'll look more real. Or if it doesn't, then you can just work on it some more. Keep messing with it. Because sometimes doing what's exactly real in this style may look kind of fake. I see here I have a shadow at my brow, so where my brow starts to dip. I actually could go a little lower. It looks like the shadow kind of starts up here, but I'm going to go a little bit lower than that. Yeah, that's good. Up here around my hairs, I do have some shadow that I'm going to do a little zigzag with. Because your hair is going to cast shadow on your brow. You know, I could have actually zigzagged that a little better, actually. And you know what? Let me double click my pencil and move it down to a bit more accurate. Because sometimes when you do the zigzag and it's set, the settings are a bit smoother, it won't capture as many of the zigzags. It'll try to smooth them out. And cover across here. Then I'll continue. If it gets, because I'm using my mouse, right? So if it gets to the point to where you can't really like continue on without your mouse getting off your mouse pad, then you just cut it around and then go over it again. Pick up where you left off. Good. Back. Now I'm going to do that one again. Good. Good. Did a little bit of the shadow that comes off my brow again. Already. Looking pretty good. I don't have a ton of shadow on this side of my head, but if I do see that, like, hey, I want to capture a shadow on this side like I did on this side, then I can do that, and I'll just go in and kind of do something like that. Just make that whole thing shadow. Now, because I do have, it does get darker on this side of my face than the others. And that's where having multiple tones of shadow would help. Like you capture dark shadows and then more shadows. So you kind of have this transition between the lights and the darks, But like I said, for this assignment, we're just focused on, looks like I had a little hole there. I just filled that in. But for this assignment, we're just focused on our basic 3-tone. All right, let's go ahead and do these ones. Around my eyes. Oh yeah, we get some nice shadow in here. Because I've got some raccoon eyes. I tell you what, I have not slept much in my life. Especially after having kids. I work a lot. Try to make some money to feed everybody. So definitely have some dark eyes here. And look at that. See, because I had that shape selected and I switched to stroke, what I just drew ended up copying that same stroke. And that's not what I want. So I need to eye drop one of these shadows. With that shape selected, I eye drop a shadow and it makes it what it needs to be. And again, I am doing some little zigzag motions to try to capture some of this, make it look a bit more real. I do have a little bit of shadow under my eyelashes, and I really get into some shadow over here. And this comes across. Oh, that kind of got, my mouse kind of got stuck for a second, so I'm going to redo that one. There we go. And I could come over here, kind of do some of this. But then I'm noticing I also have some shadow in here. So again, just because we're doing 3-tone, I will include that as well. No. There we go. Over to this side. So that's kind of got some going on here. Let me start down here. Yeah, there we go. Around. Got some creases here with my wrinkle. There we go. Trying to leave open some of these highlight spots. I don't want the whole thing covered up like that where I got shadow in places that I don't really need shadow. If there's any spot that you're like, oh, that kind of looks like mid-tone skin, leave it open. Don't just cover it up just because it's right next to that whole shadowy shape. Got some shadow here with my brown. Kind of have a little bit of shadow here around my face that I do. It looks like I can't tell if that's eyelashes or a little bit of crow's feet at the corner of my eye, but I'm going to go with that as well. That's pretty good. Might add a little bit more of a zigzag here, just to give the impression of like skin creases, folds, and stuff. Not bad, not bad. So go ahead and swap these colors back around. Go back to my layers. And notice all the shadow colors are appearing on top of that color layer, which is good, because then that'll show up on top of your mid-tone color. Find that compound path layer there, and I'm going to reverse that back. See if I can find another. And remember, if you can't find it, you just select that outside shape there. Select the edge of your shape, and then you'll see, hey, look, there's that stroke shape. So now I just got to find that stroke shape. I mean, you don't technically have to find it in your layers. I think it's helpful too, just so you know where it's at. There's my ear. There's my forehead. Yeah, you can always name your layers too, by the way. Like here's forehead. Here's your ear. If I go back down, I'll find call this my jaw. There's that. Yeah. And then find these. Of course, you could just select it like I just did, and then just swap the colors back, and that's it. But I think it's helpful to know where they are in your layers. And I'll call this the left lens. And then I'll find this one. That right lens. Cool. So that way you can actually search your layers. So if I ever want to search for right lens, there it is. And I could find it. So that's just one reason to name it. It's just kind of helpful. All right. Those are all my shadows. Let me go ahead and swap that out. Yeah. Yeah, now we're getting a more natural looking face. Now this is starting to go somewhere. So next, I'll cut this one a little short for this video. I'll do my ear next, and then I'll do some highlights. And then after we do ear and highlights, then we'll go to the hair. We'll do the highlights in the hair. And then we'll pretty much be done for this week. I mean, this is going pretty quick, guys. I hope you're feeling good about it.